Hello, and welcome to the Dementia Dish with Danielle. My name is Danielle Farrell, and I'm a public education coordinator at the Alzheimer's Society of Peel. And I'm coming to you today to talk about mealtime and inclusion. Here's a quote by Anthony Bourdain. Context and memory play powerful roles in all the truly great meals in one's life. Food and is such a social and cultural part of human existence. And just to sometimes smell a familiar food or to taste food that is tied to a pleasant memory is often strong enough to trigger very strong and pleasant memories. And so food is such a central part of life, and that doesn't change just because a person is living with dementia. So there is some research that shows that taking part in everyday routines, taking part in purposeful activities is really key for people living with dementia to remain as independent as possible, to keep up their procedural skills, to assist with their dexterity and their agility. So all those things are really well maintained by doing things every day that are purposeful. And food preparation is such a large part of that. If you think about how much time in every day is usually spent doing some form of meal preparation. And so this is one key area in life where we can really still involve the person living with dementia. And so how do we include them in the meal preparation? There are some strategies and some gadgets and tips that will help to keep the person as involved in the meal preparation as possible. So setting up the table, if that is something that the person can do with a little bit of assistance, then there are placemats that are actually templates, and they have where the plate goes and where the fork and knife and everything go on the table. And so you can get these placemats to help guide the person living with dementia to be able to independently set that table. You can have the person rinse or wash, the vegetables that are going to be cooked. There's lots of different areas of food prep where the person living with dementia may still be able to assist. If you demonstrate the task for the person, that can really help the individual to be able to use and follow the directions. So if you just demonstrated, model what you want. For instance, stirring. You start stirring the pot, you show it to the person, and then you hand them the spoon. They can start to stir as well. Getting a safeguard for peelers. So maybe that could be part of the food prep, is peeling, the vegetables that need to be peeled. And there are great products out there to make that a safer activity. Also, for meal preparation, you can prepare ahead of time and only put out the utensils and the tools that will be needed for that particular meal preparation. You can use safety knives. This will really help to reduce injury and yet let the person be involved. So there's a picture of that here on the screen of what those look like. Labeling the drawers and the fridge and the appliances in the kitchen. So using labels that are words or pictures can really help the person living with dementia to be able to navigate around the kitchen space and keep them able to be more independent that way. So another way to promote independence is to use weighted utensils. So if a person has tremors or shakes, some mobility issues, some dexterity issues, then weighted utensils can sometimes be very helpful. You can get plate guards. These are plastic guards or metal guards that attach to the one edge of a plate. And that way, when a person is trying to pick up their food with a spoon or fork. When it hits the guard, the food doesn't fall off of the other side of the plate. You can use two-handled mugs. That can be a lot more helpful for the person to remain independent, especially if they have those tremors and shakes. A nosy cup can really be a very useful tool. It has sort of a section where the nose is that is bumped out. And this can be really helpful if someone has mobility issues and they can't tip their head back when they're trying to drink out of a cup. And so that can make it a lot easier for them. And then there's dining with dignity. There are some products that can really help to increase independence, to make a person more comfortable during the dining experience. So one of those would be clothing protectors. So if the person does have some mobility, dexterity, agility issues whereby food might fall off of forks, spoons, a clothing protector that, protects the clothing they're wearing so it can just come off after would be a great idea. We want the person to be able to concentrate on their food and on eating. So limiting distractions, because people living with dementia can be distracted by TV, radio, other conversations. So just trying to keep a calm atmosphere during mealtime. If the person living with dementia tends to pick up their beverages, their liquids, and pour it on top of their food, then that is something we'd like to avoid, because then it can make the food an unpleasant texture. So in that case, just serving the beverage separate from the meal. Limiting portion size. Sometimes it can be overwhelming to see a great big plate of food for some people. So a smaller plate with a smaller portion on it, that may encourage the person to eat. If you find the person is having difficulty with utensils, even if they're weighted, then incorporating more finger foods into that person's diet can help them to remain more independent, right? So a sandwich can be picked up and eaten, for example, might be easier than something that has to be picked up with a fork. If the person is on a puree diet, then sometimes, if you've ever seen puree diets, sometimes it looks very unappetizing. And many people will tell you that when it comes to food, we're enticed with our eyes first, so our sense of sight. And so if it looks unpleasant, we're not too likely to want to put it in our mouth. So on a pureed diet, there are food molds that look like vegetables, that look like meat. So they take on the shape. And so food molds might be a really good idea to sort of help with that visual appearance of the food. Texture and taste also play a large role in eating. And particularly with dementia, swallowing issues can occur in the dementia journey. And so if swallowing of thin liquids becomes an issue, then you can buy thickening powder, and the thickening powder can be added to cold or to warm beverages, and it can just help to thicken that thin liquid, make it easier to swallow. Temperature of food is important. Scalding hot can obviously cause, burning and cause, that roof of your mouth burn, which is always the worst feel. And, if something's meant to be served cool, then you want it to be cool, but not cold, because cold can also cause teeth sensitivity and just an awful feeling. So we want to make sure the temperature is warm or cool, but not hot or too cold. Keep in mind what textures this person has always enjoyed or liked, because texture of food is really quite important to a lot of people. Some people just don't like certain textures, and that will turn them off of eating the food. We have, as we age, a dulling of our taste buds. And so our taste buds for sweet are at the back of our tongue. And when other taste buds dull, the taste for sweet is still usually the taste buds that remain the most intact. And so some people will start to crave sweets as they age. And so ketchup, honey, things of that nature can really help to sweeten a food. And it's also great if something's really dry, it can add, that sort of texture to it that makes it not as dry. Because of that sweet tooth or those sweet taste buds staying so strong, in order to encourage somebody who may be eating less, and you're getting worried about consumption, and there being not enough consumption of food, try serving dessert first, because it's sweet tasting and may get the person going on eating. And that may be very helpful. So if you'd like to reach out to the Alzheimer's Society to get more information on meal times, please feel free to reach us at our service access line, or to email us at direct.support@alzheimerpeel. And you can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. If you liked this video, please be sure to like it, share it, and subscribe. And please join us again for future Dementia Dishes.